Hey, welcome back to my channel. In this week's video, we're going to talk about a few things on the development front here in Vancouver, a few opposing things that are happening in the market, in the condo market, and I'm going to briefly touch on what happened with real estate stats in September. Real quick, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Hassan. I'm a real estate agent in the Vancouver area, and I make educational real estate content to help you on your real estate journey. When I'm not making videos like this, I'm helping people just like you buy and sell real estate across the Lower Mainland. So if that sounds interesting to you and you wanted to chat with me one-on-one, you can book me for a free call in the Calendly link below and on screen, and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future video. All right, hope you had a great week. Gonna hop right into this. I want to start by talking about Western Canada's tallest tower now approved for Burnaby, the low heat area of Burnaby. 80 stories now coming to Burnaby, and as part of the project there's a 73-story tower as well, and then there'll be a separate phase with 2 additional buildings. The reason why this is so significant, we talk a lot about condos and development on my channel, a whole bunch more long-term inventory now coming to that Burnaby area. So obviously there is confidence from some developers in this condo market and in the long-term condo market. To give you an idea about the scope of this project, so when they were going for approval initially, the project plan had 14 stories of underground parking, 14 levels. Could you imagine getting a unit there and you're allocated a spot on level 14? I can only imagine the amount of realtors that are going to be, sending submissions for units for their clients, requesting to not be on a lower floor of parking. Well, the city stepped in and they said, look, we want you to have fewer parking stalls. So they've adjusted the amount of stalls. So I don't know exactly how many levels of parking are going to be with this project, with that 80-story tower. But there's a definite shift, not just in Burnaby and Vancouver, but all areas in the Lower Mainland, to opt for less parking. Cities want to have developers have less parking, more bike storage lockers as well. So you see that sort of trade-off, especially in Vancouver, where you'll buy into a pre-sale there and they'll give you 2 bike storage lockers, but no actual storage locker because they have to meet certain minimums for having bike storage. Anyways, long story short, it's not going to be 14 levels of parking, but obviously the scope of this very significant. In the first tower alone, just under 800 total units. And the interesting thing about it, maybe not so interesting for Burnaby, is of those, I think it's 788 units. So of those units, 0 of them are studio plans. So they're all 1 bedrooms and up. And that makes a lot of sense. As you shift outside of Vancouver, I actually had someone, I believe from YouTube, or it might have been Instagram, asking me whether they should purchase an investment studio in Port Moody. And my answer to that was no. I think outside of Vancouver, Vancouver is, I don't want to use the word special, but it's special in that sense where studio units, there's a market for them in Vancouver. They do quite well when you put them up for rent. That market already exists, but the thing to keep in mind when you're buying investment units and you're heading eastwards to, say, Port Coquitlam, Port Moody, or into the Fraser Valley, a lot of time nowadays, your tenant is not coming from that same city where they are going to rent the studio. A lot of them are coming from Vancouver. They get displaced. They're looking at what the rent's going to be. And so now they're in a position where they have to move eastwards. So when you have a tenant who's moving from Vancouver to Surrey, for instance, the one consolation that they want to make that move, the one thing they have to have, is they are expecting more space. And that's a tale as old as time. Like back when we were younger, people would say, you move to the country and you live on acreage. And I guess that was the dream back in the day. You move out of the city and you have all this land. Obviously that doesn't exist today, but when people are shifting eastwards, tenants as well, the one thing they are going to want is they are going to want more space. They're going to want to be rewarded. They need some sort of reward for moving eastward. So no studio units in this tower. Again, not extremely surprising to me, but with that high number of units, you thought there might have been a few of those included in this mix. Now, the one time I would look at a studio unit outside of the city of Vancouver itself is if you're very close to schools, post-secondary education, if you're in a student town where there are a lot of students to rent to, then I think that's an anomaly. That's a bit of a different scenario. But no studios here. The other interesting thing about this project is, anytime developers are, building a new project, very often they may be taking down a rental building in the process, or they have to provide a certain amount of rental units, inclusionary rental units that the city requires them to have. Now, this developer, they have a site about a 10-minute walk away from this one. This site, so you know where it's at, is very close to North Road and Austin and Lougheed. So it's just west of North Road on Austin. So that's where this site is. But this developer has a site about a 10-minute walk away, and they're going to move those inclusionary rental units. They're allowed to develop them at that alternate site. So a little bit different than what you normally see, where a builder, they have to provide a certain amount of rentals. Oftentimes on that same site, they're doing a smaller scale of a building that's strictly for rental, that specific building, but on the same site. Whereas in this case, they're able to shift it about 10 minutes away. Now, I mentioned off the top a whole bunch more inventory, long-term inventory coming to Burnaby. If we look at it from a pre-sale perspective, and this is where things get very interesting, and I'm only talking Tower 1, those 788 or 800 units. Tower 2 is a little bit less than that. Assuming that the developer has to meet a 65% pre-sale threshold to obtain their financing, and again, they have to do that within 1 year of having the disclosure statement. So it's basically 12 months of sales where they have to potentially, I don't know their financing situation, but let's say it's 65%. It's usually between 60 and 70%. That's over 500 units that need to be sold in pre-sale in that Lougheed area within that year. And don't forget, we have Shape Properties with the city of Lougheed, plenty more towers to go right just north of this site. Essentially, I think a portion of this site was actually purchased off of Shape Properties. So obviously they hold a lot of land there. So all of these units, people have already been asking how many elevators are there going to be. I don't know the answer to that, but that's going to be very important to have, obviously, enough elevators there. So obviously, this developer, they've been working on getting this approved for some time, and now it's approved. We'll see now exactly how quickly this does move forward. I want to shift. I said, things are a little bit different. They're a bit all over the place when it comes to this condo market. Shifting to the Metrotown area, a very large developer for the first time in Canada is essentially going to IPO to the general public to include them as partners in the construction. And this is for Anthem Properties, a project called Citizen, 66-story tower. It's shovel ready. It's ready to go. And it's an IPO, again, first of its kind in Canada, where people, the general public, can invest and become a development partner with one of the most prominent developers in the city of Vancouver or in the Lower Mainland. And I think what's very interesting to me about this specific situation is, this isn't a situation where the developer hasn't sold enough units to get their financing. They've sold 77% of this building, so they would have met their finance to get their financing commitment. They would have met a minimum pre-sale threshold, meaning that this is an opportunity for them to deleverage a little bit, right? Obviously, these big developers, they own other land, they have other projects on the go. So although they are getting the financing from a lender, they're actually going to the general public to bring on partners. So first of its kind, again, they've sold 77%. They're ready to go, but it just gives you a bit of a scope in terms of how these costs, how the rising interest rates and the labor costs and the construction costs and really everything. On my channel, we have talked about inflation periodically, and so inflation affects consumers, but it affects developers as well and businesses as well, right? I think we fail to sometimes think, I'm sure many of us do, but some people fail to think that when we see that, we hear headlines saying inflation is down, CPI inflation is down. Some people out there are thinking, okay, things are getting cheaper, but that's not the case. What's actually happening is things are getting more expensive at a slower pace than they were before. they're still getting more expensive. And so very interesting, again, to see a large developer like this and come out with a unique offering in an effort to deleverage and free up some cash essentially, so they can either work on other projects or cover other projects, whatever that might be. So a couple of opposing things happening in the market as well. So just to add on to this condo talk that we're having today, sometimes what happens with pre-sale developments is at time of pre-sale, developer sells, and once they hit their financing threshold, a couple things happen. Some developers will get a little bit less motivated to offer deals on product. They'll stick very tightly to their price, especially if they think that the market is going to continue to go in an upward direction by the time completion hits. Now, what some developers have done is, back when the market was hot, they were pre-selling, and then there were shakier times in the market, and some developers said, okay, we're going to hold back some units. We're not going to sell them in pre-sale. We're going to wait. We believe the market's going to be up by the time we're actually ready to completing this building. And so what we'll do is we'll hold back units, and then at that time, we're going to put this inventory into the market as ready to go finished product. People will be able to walk in, touch and feel, and it'll give them another opportunity to purchase this product. Now, several developers over the last, let's say, 3-4 years, and even longer than that, have held back significant amount of units in buildings that are completing over the next, from now to the next 12 to 18 months. And so ultimately, and the condo market has not really done what a lot of people were thinking it would, and that's, keep climbing. Personally, I've helped clients earlier this year a few times buy in Vancouver, where we're buying condos cheaper than 2017 peak prices. It's a norm. If you're not getting it at that sort of pricing, you got to really look into why you're not getting it at older pricing. And so a lot of this stuff is happening with the condos now, where they have not appreciated like many had thought, and some developers have a lot of units still to sell once a project actually completes. Now, what happens is there's a whole consumer segment that purchased into these developments thinking that they were going to flip these properties for a profit at completion. And that's still the plan for a lot of these consumers. But now they're going to be selling it and not making a profit, very often breaking even or losing money. But because they weren't expecting to complete these new projects, that's why you see all these ton of new vacant listings hit the market with newer buildings. So what we're going to see now, we're going to see more of, is not only are these new construction buildings going to have a ton of what we'll call end user consumer purchase product that's hitting the market, but at the same time you have developers with holdback units that are also placing units on the market. So you have like this, you're going to have this competition between the developer and the consumers, and everyone needs to sell. Everyone wants to sell. And so I truly believe, from a purchase perspective, in certain areas, certain projects, there will be opportunity to buy in this condo market. In fact, I am positioning some things that I'm working on so I can take advantage of opportunity that I see coming in the next 6 to 9 months with certain projects, certain areas, again, in the condo space, to buy today at much older pricing. So condo market, really, really interesting. If we look at some of the sales activity that happened in September, every product type, detached, attached, townhomes as well, came down month over month in price. We had more inventory, of course, hit the market. An interesting thing about September and August, I just quickly want to touch on, very important actually. I had someone reach out to me through this channel. Back in August, they were considering selling a property, and they were chatting with me. They were chatting with another agent, and the other agent was saying, you should wait till September. It doesn't make any sense to sell in August. And this is a piece of rhetoric that agents love to talk about and say, never sell in the summer, don't sell in August, you're wasting your time, why would you do it? Everyone's on vacation, nothing's happening. What I did with this potential client that emailed me is I showed them the data, and because I was saying, look, it's August, we should do it right now. We need to do this right now, and the reason why is since 2021, August has had equal to or more sales than September each year, And that bore out again this year in 2024, more sales in August than September. The speak that September is this hot, frenzied market versus August, it's incorrect. And the reality is, if agents are telling you this, it's because they are taking vacation in August. They're not going to be around. They don't want to work. Truthfully, because we have to look at the data. Now, what happened in 2020 that kind of shifted all of this sort of consumer behavior is we had the pandemic. So if we really think about it, 2020, we have pandemic, no one's traveling, borders are closed. 2021, people are still not traveling, they're not going away on vacation, summer vacations are dead, it's not happening. 2022, barely happening. 2023, the costs of everything explode over the last couple of years, and one of the first areas that families and people are cutting back on is travel. So no one's going anywhere. And in fact, what we're seeing in the numbers, and it's been a long enough period to call it a trend since 2021, what we're seeing in the numbers is people want to make their household, buy houses, sell houses, do what they need to do in August before school starts. It's no longer people are waiting till September. September is a busy month outside of real estate in the lives of families, right? They're getting back into school programs, got to take the kids to soccer, to hockey, whatever it is. And so again, if an agent is telling you next year, remember this video, if an agent tells you next year, don't do it in August, do it in September, September is the hot market, call me first. And I will show you the data that says, no, you should do it in August if you have that opportunity. But circling back to where the numbers are at, the stats are at, year over year down about 3 or 4% overall sales wise. And again, prices inching down a little bit. We've had a few rate cuts now. We are expecting rate cuts in the October meeting and moving forward into the next year. And I've said on this channel before, we're going to need a little bit more. We're going to need a little bit more in terms of rate cuts to kind of see activity pick up. But at the same time, mortgage rates are coming down. I did a video either last week or the week before talking all about that. But a lot of interesting things happening on the development side. If you guys have any questions on condos, what's happening in developments, where the opportunities are that I'm looking, definitely reach out to me, book me for a call, or just send me a text, give me a call, shoot me an email. But I want to thank you for watching this week's video. I hope you got some value out of it. If you did, share it with someone. If you think someone else might enjoy this video, absolutely, please share it with someone so they can also learn from it. And if you enjoy weekly real estate content, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss next week's video. And again, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.